Jayapal is the representative for Seattle, and she does a hit and run and now blames Israel for anything that's going on in that part of the world. It's like telling a rape victim, you deserved it. And so, of course, we'll condemn it. We'll condemn it. Oh, that's hard to do. But now let me tell you the problem with that rape victim. She brought it on herself. State of the Union, CNN, this past Sunday. I already watched this once. It's pretty grotesque. Jayapal is the representative for Seattle. She's the head of the progressive, whatever they call themselves, caucus in the House of Representatives. She is a Marxist, like Bernie Sanders, like AOC, like Tlaib, like Omar, like about 15% of the Democrats in the House of Representatives. Think about that. Think about that. What we're now learning is so grotesque about what happened to these poor women. Women, some of them 12, 13, 14 years old. On October 7th, the gang rapes. And now the other day, it was revealed that the IDF soldiers, the women, and these are just somebody's daughters, who are not, most of them, regular military. Maybe they work at restaurants. Maybe they play for an orchestra. Maybe they're this. Israel is a tiny country, so it has to pull all its citizens together when it goes to war. And so the IDF is a mix of professional soldiers, which is relatively small percentage, and then the public. Much like during our revolution, we had a very small permanent military, but we had to count on the colonists and militias to come in and help. So they would leave their farms, they would leave their business. It's the same in Israel. So these are teenagers or young women. And it's very difficult for me to say this. So the Daily Mail does a story on what one of these forensic experts in the Israeli military, what a group, a unit, a specialized unit found, and he said that many of these girls were not only brutalized sexually, they were mutilated. They were shot in the vagina. They were shot in their breasts. They were butchered, some of them alive. And if you've ever seen the body of a person who's passed away, typically it looks like they're sleeping or they have their eyes open, but they're not grimacing in pain and squeezing their fists. And he said many of these girls had on their faces, dead, the look of extreme pain, like, and their fists like this. They're cold, dead bodies. One witness who hid under dead bodies said he saw one girl being raped by, he said, 8 to 10 terrorists. And she was screaming, just kill me, you're going to kill me anyway, just kill me. And when they were done, they shot her in the head. There's so many horrific stories, and I want to ask you, my fellow Americans, if there were terrorists in Mexico, and Hamas is said to have 35,000 to 50,000 terrorist militia who came across our border, did that to our girls, and slaughtered our people, took our people hostage, including a 10-month-old baby, including an 89-year-old Holocaust survivor, a woman, and wanted to negotiate for them, but withheld a couple dozen women, even though the deal was to give them back. Because now even the State Department admits, because they were brutalized, we don't even know if they're alive, because Hamas doesn't want them to tell their story. What the hell do you think we'd do about this? You think we'd be listening to any country about ceasefires? Honestly, do you think we give a damn about the civilians south of the border? the rage in this country, the demands in this country, the politicians having to react to the people rising up in this country? Do you think for a second that we would do? Let me put it to you this way, that we would accept a lecture from any Western country, the state of Israel too, about the rules of war and civility, and we don't want to turn into them? No, we'd say kill the bastards as fast as you can, any way you need to. So now, with that as background, this woman is asked about what's taking place. To her credit, at CNN, she's asked about her views of what took place there. And this is a leading Marxist Democrat in the House of Representatives. She has a lot of power. Let's listen to how this goes. Go ahead.
I want to ask you about sexual violence. And it's kind of remarkable that this issue hasn't gotten enough attention globally. Widespread use of rape, brutal rape, sexual violence against Israeli women by Hamas. I've seen a lot of progressive women, generally speaking, they're quick to defend women's rights and speak out against using rape as a weapon of war, but downright silent on what we saw on October.
And by the way, one of those women is Michelle Obama. Normally, you can't shut the woman up, to be perfectly honest. She'll comment on everything and anything. She's sanctimonious, she's self-righteous. The media have built her up as some kind of a icon. She's not an icon, she's a disaster. Remember, she had that sign when the Nigerian Muslim terrorists took the teenage Christian black girls, remember? As of today, Michelle Obama hasn't said a word, hadn't been seen. She said nothing about what was done on October 7th, nothing about what's been done to the hostage women, nothing, not a word. That is diabolical, that's unconscionable. Now what does that mean? It means what I've always said about the Obamas, they're anti-Semites. This policy that they're trying to impose on Israel right now, this comes from Obama and his people, Blinken and Sullivan and the rest of them. They don't believe that Israel's a legitimate country. They don't believe its borders are legitimate. They believe Israel is populated with white Europeans, not Israelis who were chased out of that part of the world by the Babylonians, the Persians, the Romans, the Arabs, you name it. These are the indigenous lands of the Jews. Go ahead, look at the Bible, look at the Torah. You won't find any Palestinians in there. Why not? We know why not. Judea and Samaria, today, the Biden administration wants to carve up Israel. So what they learned from this is the most horrendous terrorist attack on that state, and as a result, they should be rewarded with a brand new country, which would include the Gaza Strip, but it would include Judea and Samaria. I've said this before. You know what's in Judea? A little town called Shiloh. You've heard of that, Mr. Producer? Mm-hmm. Shiloh is where all the tribes of Israel finally came together and is formed what we consider now the Judaism. Not just the faith, but its actual coalesced existence. Shiloh came before the city of David. The city of David came before Jerusalem. For 4,000 years. 4,000 years. Starting with Samuel. 4,000 years ago, Shiloh was the place, I won't call it the capital, but the place where Judaism, as we understand it today, was actually born. And Obama and Biden say, that's Palestinian. What? Oh yes, that's Palestinian. No, it's not. And why is the United States, under this administration, under Obama, so hell-bent on giving it to the Palestinians? I explained this the other day here and on Fox because they view the Jews in Israel as Europeans. They view the world from 1948 forward, and they view it through the eyes of racism. Here you have these white Israelis, and then you have the brown Palestinians. There were no Palestinians, they were Arabs. And Yasser Arafat, as I've explained before, who founded the PLO, the Palestinian Liberation Organization, in 1965, he came up with the idea of calling these Arabs Palestinians because why? Palestine. The Palestinians are from Palestine, you understand. Actually, most of them were Arabs who lived in Jordan, historically called Transjordan. Well, historically, I'm talking about 100, 120 years ago, because 100, 120 years ago, there was no Jordan. Most of these Arab countries were created, first by the Ottoman Empire and then by the British. You ever look at a map of the Middle East? You ever see some of the countries with straight lines? A straight line like somebody took a ruler and drew it? Well, that's what happened. There was no Saudi Arabia. There was no Kuwait. There was no Yemen. I mean, historically, there may have been, Arab tribes and so forth, but these countries were created from whole cloth. You don't find them in the Bible because they didn't exist. You'll find Egypt. You'll see Egypt, and so forth. But you won't find these other places, most of them. And you certainly won't find the Palestinians. And so that's the mindset of a Jayapal and the rest. They are racists, they're anti-Semites, and they are Marxists who embrace the Islamists. Go.
And then what might be happening inside Gaza right now to these hostages? Why is that?
I mean, I don't know that that's true. I think we always talk about the impact of war on women in particular. In fact, I remember 20 years ago, I did a petition around the war in Iraq.
Have you talked about it since October 7th?
Absolutely. And I've condemned what Hamas has done. I've condemned
specifically
all
against
of
women?
the actions. Absolutely. The rape, of course. But I think we have to remember that Israel is a democracy. That is why they are a strong ally of ours. And if they do not comply with international humanitarian law, they are bringing themselves to a place that makes it much more difficult strategically for them.
She asked her about the brutalization, the barbaric acts against those girls and women on October 7th. And she does a hit and run and now blames Israel for anything that's going on in that part of the world. It's like telling a rape victim, you deserved it. You deserved it. And so, of course, we'll condemn it. We'll condemn it. Oh, that's hard to do, right? But now let me tell you the problem with that rape victim. She brought it on herself. Go ahead.
Yeah.
To be able to build the kinds of allies, to keep public opinion with them. And frankly, morally, I think we cannot say that one war crime deserves another. That is not what international humanitarian law says.
Okay, with respect, I was just asking about the women, and you turned it back to Israel. I'm asking you about Hamas. In fact,
I already answered your question, Dana. I said it's horrific, and I think that rape is horrific, sexual assault is horrific. I think that it happens.
She thinks rape and sexual assault are horrific. She asked you about the Jewish girls. And you keep generalizing, you keep deflecting, keep listening.
In war situations, terrorist organizations like Hamas obviously are using these as tools. However, I think we have to be balanced about bringing in the outrages against Palestinians. 15,000 Palestinians.
Okay, that you see, first of all, this is what you are. So now we're going to debate that phony figure that they got from Hamas. 15,000 Palestinians have died. Israel says, wait a minute, we've killed about 5,000 Hamas militia, which you are including in that 15,000. Now let me depart from this. She is a disgusting individual, and she will always be a disgusting individual because that video will exist forever.
Want to see more Mark Levin? Go to levintv.com and subscribe now.